My name is Pauline O'Neill, 29 years old, and I didn't realize my relationship was over until an insurance investigator asked me one simple question. It didn't start with a fight. It didn't even start with a confession. It started with a text message that looked so casual, so careless, it made my stomach drop before I even fully processed the words. "I crashed your car. Don't be mad. These things happen." I stared at my phone for a long time. 5 minutes, maybe more. Long enough for the silence in my apartment to feel heavier than usual. Long enough to realize that nothing about that message felt normal. 2 years. That's how long I'd been with Daniel. Not a whirlwind romance. Not a disaster either. Just steady. Comfortable. The kind of relationship where nothing is obviously broken, but nothing is truly right either. We didn't live together, but he practically did. His clothes in my closet, his toothbrush next to mine, his presence woven into my routines like it had always belonged there. Looking back, there were signs, the way he'd cancel plans last minute, the way his ex-girlfriend's name would slip into conversations just a little too naturally. Not enough to start a fight, but enough to leave a quiet discomfort I kept choosing to ignore. And then there was my car. A 2021 Honda Accord. Nothing flashy, but it was mine. The first big purchase I made on my own. Paid off early. Maintained like it mattered because it did. Daniel's car, on the other hand, was falling apart. An old Altima that rattled like it had secrets. So slowly, almost without noticing, my car became our car. At first, it made sense. Job interviews, family visits, then longer trips, then random errands, then whenever he felt like it. I should have said no earlier. I know that now. That Saturday, he asked again, said his car was making a weird noise, said he didn't trust it. I was working from home, didn't need mine, so I handed him the keys without thinking twice. "I'll be back by early afternoon," he said. He wasn't. By 6 p.m., nothing. No car. No updates. I texted him, "Where are you?" "Running behind. Be back soon." Something about that response felt off. Too vague. Too easy. By 9 p.m. I called. No answer. By 11:47 p.m. I got the text. "I crashed your car." No call. No explanation. Just that. I typed back slowly, forcing calm into my fingers. "Accidents happen. Are you okay?" I didn't mean it. Not really. I was furious. But anger never gets you the truth. Silence does. The next morning, he showed up at my apartment. He looked exhausted. Pale. A faint bruise near his collarbone from the seatbelt, maybe. He avoided eye contact like it physically hurt him. I made coffee. Sat him down. Watched him carefully. "So, what happened?" He exhaled like he'd been rehearsing this. "I was driving back from the outlet mall. A deer ran out. I swerved, hit a guardrail. The front's pretty bad, but the tow guy said it might be fixable." His voice cracked in all the right places. His apology sounded convincing. Too convincing. "Which highway?" I asked. "The main one, near the outlets." I nodded slowly. The outlet mall was about 45 minutes away. He'd been gone for over 12 hours, but I didn't push. Not yet. "Okay," I said softly. "We'll file an insurance claim." Relief washed over his face so quickly it was almost unsettling, like he'd been bracing for something worse, and I just let him off easy. After he left, the apartment felt different. Quieter. Colder. And that's when I did something I'd never done before. I opened the GPS tracking app for my car. I'd installed it months ago for an insurance discount. Completely forgot it even existed most of the time. Until that moment. Saturday's data loaded in seconds, and everything he said unraveled instantly. My car never went anywhere near the outlet mall. Instead, It drove 168 miles in one direction, stopped for 6 hours, then drove another 170 miles back before the trip ended abruptly. 340 miles total. My hands went cold as I zoomed in on the destination. It took less than a minute to recognize the location. Her lake house. His ex-girlfriend's lake house. He told me about it before, early in our relationship when memories still slipped out easily. He described it in detail, the dock, the fire pit, the way the water looked at sunset. I remember thinking back then, he sounded happier talking about that place than anything else, and now I knew why. He didn't go there by accident. He drove my car 170 miles to see her, stayed for 6 hours, then crashed my car on the way back and told me he was running errands. I sat there for a long time staring at the screen. The betrayal wasn't just the trip. It wasn't even whether he cheated. It was the lie, the ease of it, the way he looked me in the eye, told a full story, added just enough detail to make it believable, and expected me to accept it without question. And for a moment, I almost had. I closed the app slowly, took a deep breath, and made a decision. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Because sometimes, the truth reveals itself more clearly when you let people keep talking. And I had a feeling this wasn't over. Not even close. I didn't confront Daniel that day. Not when I saw the GPS. Not when I realized exactly where he'd been. Not even when I replayed his story in my head and caught every tiny inconsistency he thought I'd miss. Instead, I did something much colder. I let him believe I believed him. Monday morning, I filed the insurance claim, exactly the way he described it. Dear, guardrail, near the outlet mall. My voice was calm, steady, almost detached, like I was narrating someone else's problem. Part of me wanted to see how far he'd take the lie. Turns out, pretty far. The next day, the insurance investigator called. At first, it was routine. Questions about time, location, conditions. I answered carefully, leaving gaps where Daniel's story was supposed to fill in. Then the investigator paused. Does your vehicle have any tracking or telematics devices installed? I felt my pulse spike, but my voice didn't change. Yes, I said. An OBD2 tracker. A brief silence on the line. Would you be willing to provide the GPS data from the day of the accident? And just like that, everything narrowed down to one decision. I could protect him, back up his lie, let the insurance cover the damage, and quietly end things later. Or I could tell the truth. I thought about the text. Don't be mad. These things happen. The casualness. The assumption I'd just accept it. No, I said quietly to myself. Not this time. I reviewed the GPS data, I told the investigator, and it doesn't match what I was told. Another pause. Longer this time. Can you elaborate? He said he was at the outlet mall, I continued. But the car drove over 300 miles in a completely different direction. I see, the investigator said carefully. Would you be able to send us that data? I already have it ready. I hung up and sent the logs within the hour. That was the moment everything changed. Not when he lied, not when he went to see her, but when I chose not to cover for him. He called me that night. His voice was tight, controlled in that way people get when they're one step away from panic. The insurance guy called me, he said. He asked a bunch of weird questions. What did you tell him? The truth. A beat of silence. What truth? I didn't soften it. That you drove 340 miles to your ex-girlfriend's lake house and crashed my car on the way back. Silence. Not the kind where someone's thinking of what to say. The kind where the lie collapses so completely, there's nothing left to hold on to. You had GPS tracking on your car? He finally said. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? I was going to tell you. When? I cut in. After the insurance paid for a deer that doesn't exist? It's not what it looks like, he rushed. I just needed closure. We talked, that's all. Nothing happened. I laughed softly. Not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. You lied about where you were. You lied about the accident. You lied to the insurance company, I said. Whether you cheated or not, stopped mattering the moment you decided I was stupid enough to believe this. He started apologizing. Fast, desperate, words tripping over each other. I panicked, Pauline. I didn't know how to tell you. You don't get to panic your way into destroying my life, I said quietly. That shut him up. And then I said the only thing that had been clear since Sunday morning. We're done. No yelling, no drama, just final. I hung up, blocked his number, and for the first time in 2 days, I felt something close to calm. It didn't last. By Thursday, the insurance company sent their decision. Claim denied. Material misrepresentation of facts by the authorized driver. Translation: he lied. So now, I pay. The repair estimate came in at just over $11,000. I stared at the number for a long time. My chest tight, not from heartbreak, but from something sharper. Injustice. This wasn't an accident I caused. This wasn't even bad luck. This was a chain of choices. His choices, landing directly on me. So I made another decision. I wasn't absorbing this. The lawyer I spoke to didn't sugarcoat anything. You have a strong case, he said. He had permission to drive the car, but he's responsible for damages, especially since his actions led to the insurance denial. My options were simple. Let it go, or take him to court. I didn't hesitate. I filed in small claims for $9,500. He showed up at my apartment 3 days later. No warning, just knocking like he still belonged there. When I opened the door, he was holding the court papers. His face pale, eyes red. You're suing me? He said. You crashed my car, I replied. And lied about it. Someone has to pay. This is insane, Pauline, he snapped. We were together for 2 years. And you drove to your ex's house in my car during that time? I said evenly. So yeah, this feels pretty reasonable. Nothing happened with her? He insisted. Great, I shrugged. You can explain that to the judge. Maybe they'll factor it into the $11,000 in damage. His expression shifted. Panic. Into something softer. Look, I can pay you back, he said quickly. Over time, we don't need to do this in court. Put it in writing, I said. I'll consider it. He stepped closer. Please, don't do this to me. I held his gaze. You already did it to yourself. 2 days later, his mother called me. I didn't even know she had my number. I understand you're upset, she said, her tone dripping with forced patience. But taking my son to court is excessive. I let her finish. Then I answered calmly. Your son borrowed my car, drove it 340 miles to see his ex-girlfriend, crashed it, and lied to my insurance company. I said, that's not a mistake, that's a series of decisions. He said nothing happened, she insisted. He's just confused. I'm not, I cut in. Silence. Then her voice hardened. You're being vindictive. My heart will recover for free, I said. My car costs $11,000. She hung up on me. I blocked her number. That same evening, I got another call. The insurance investigator. His tone was different this time. More serious. We've completed our review, he said, and we're referring this case to our Special Investigations Unit for potential fraud. Fraud. The word hung in the air long after the call ended. This wasn't just about a breakup anymore. This wasn't even just about money. This was about consequences. Real ones. Legal ones. And for the first time since all of this started, I wondered if Daniel had any idea how far this was about to go. Because I did, and I wasn't going to stop it. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. No dramatic lighting. No raised voices. Just a quiet room, a judge behind a desk, and two people standing on opposite sides of a story that had already ended, but hadn't finished unraveling. Daniel sat across from me. He looked different. Not just tired, but diminished. Like the confidence he used to carry so easily had been stripped away piece by piece. I didn't feel satisfaction. Not yet. Just clarity. When our case was called, I stood first. My voice was steady as I laid everything out. The timeline, the GPS data, the repair estimates, the tow yard fees, the text message. I crashed your car. Don't be mad. These things happen. I watched the judge read it twice. Then she turned to Daniel. Is there anything in her statement you dispute? He swallowed. It was an accident, he said. A deer ran out. The accident isn't in dispute, the judge interrupted calmly. The issue is liability. Silence. Then came the question that mattered. Were you the one driving the vehicle when it was damaged? Yes. Did you have permission to use the vehicle? Yes. And did you report to the insurance company that the accident occurred near an outlet mall? Yes. The judge leaned back slightly. The GPS data provided shows the vehicle was over 150 miles from that location. Can you explain that discrepancy? For a second, I thought he might try to lie again. Instead, he looked down. I panicked. That was it. Not a defense. Not an explanation. Just the truth. Finally too late to matter. The judge nodded once, then looked at me briefly before returning to her notes. When a driver operates a borrowed vehicle and causes damage, they are responsible for the resulting costs, she said. In this case, the misrepresentation to the insurance company directly resulted in the denial of coverage. She paused. Judgment is entered in favor of the plaintiff. Full amount, $9,500. The number landed quietly, but the impact wasn't. Daniel didn't react at first, like he hadn't processed it yet. His mother, sitting behind him, did. This is ridiculous, she snapped, standing up. You're ruining his life over a mistake. The judge didn't even look up. Ma'am, sit down. She didn't. I hope you're proud of yourself, she said, glaring at me. This is vindictive. I met her gaze calmly. For the first time, I felt it. Not anger, not hurt. Closure. The bailiff stepped forward, guiding her out as she continued protesting. Daniel stayed seated, still, silent, like the weight of everything had finally caught up to him. He caught up to me in the hallway. Pauline, wait. I stopped, but I didn't turn fully toward him. I hope you're happy, he said. I considered that for a second. I'm not happy, I said honestly. I'm just not paying for your choices anymore. You know I can't afford that, he said. Then you shouldn't have made decisions you couldn't afford, I replied. His expression tightened. This is really about her, isn't it? He said. You're punishing me because I went to see my ex. I almost smiled. No, I said quietly. That's just the reason I stopped protecting you. He didn't have a response to that. I walked away. And this time, he didn't follow. He didn't pay. Of course he didn't. 30 days passed. Nothing. So I filed for wage garnishment. Cold, simple. Effective. Starting the next month, 25% of his paycheck would come to me, until every dollar plus fees was paid. I didn't celebrate it, but I didn't feel guilty either, because this wasn't revenge. It was accountability. The insurance investigation didn't stop either. 2 weeks later, I received a letter. The case had been referred to the state for potential fraud charges. I read that line 3 times. Fraud. A felony. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a car anymore. It was about a record, a future, consequences that wouldn't disappear after a year of payments. And for a brief moment, I hesitated. Not because he didn't deserve consequences, but because I realized how easily all of this could have been avoided. One truth. One honest conversation. That's all it would have taken. Instead, he chose lies. Over and over again. The strangest part came a week later. A message request on Instagram from a name I didn't recognize at first. Then I opened it. It was her, the ex. "Hi, I think we need to talk." I stared at the screen, my pulse steady, no longer reactive, just curious. We spoke briefly, and what she told me didn't surprise me. Daniel had been reaching out to her for months. Not just that one trip. Messages, calls, excuses to check in. The day he showed up at the lake house? Uninvited, unplanned, unwanted. He said he needed closure, she told me. But honestly, I think he just didn't want to let go. I let that sink in. All those months I thought we were building something steady. He was still living in something unfinished. My car is fixed now, completely repaired. You'd never know it had been in an accident. But I would. Because every time I drive it, I remember exactly what it cost me to get it back. Not just money, clarity, boundaries, self-respect. My apartment feels different too. Quieter, but not empty. For the first time in a long time, it feels like mine. No last-minute plan changes. No lingering doubts. No half-truths floating in the air. Just peace. If there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's that betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, careful, wrapped in just enough truth to make you question your instincts. But the moment you stop ignoring what you already know, everything changes. I didn't destroy his life. I didn't create the consequences he's facing. I just stopped protecting him from them. And sometimes, that's the most powerful thing you can do.